Good evening. Patrick here, 8 Questions with. It's Tuesday. Um, a little colder than we were expecting. Um, yeah, 30 degrees. We are headed for our maybe our last gasp of winter. We are supposed to get a little bit of tiny little bit of snow, but we're supposed to get maybe up to an inch of ice on the ground. Yikes. I'd rather deal with snow than ice. But that's what's happening here in southeastern Michigan. That's one good thing we can say about the weather. If you don't like it, wait for about 5 minutes; it'll change. Um, so tonight's guest is film director Minh Collins, and I have known Minh for a while now, and he is a very fine filmmaker. He made a fun movie called Clown Fear, which was my introduction to, well, my second movie that I saw with Sadie Katz in it. Uh, and I actually got a copy of that, a signed copy of that from Min. I thought that was really cool that he thought of me, and after we had talked before, we did an interview before, and and he sent me a copy of his film. He's a good filmmaker. He really is. He really has a real flair to him, and he is working on something really cool right now. He spent a lot of time over in Bulgaria, almost like I believe almost 9 to 10 months, but he has been working on a series. If you notice in the chat, I put a poll up there. If you like horror anthologies or not. Now, you guys all know me. I love a good horror anthology. I'm always talking about horror anthologies, and it's some of the hardest movies to make, actually. Um, it really is because, and if you're gonna do it yourself too, because anthologies are different stories plus a wraparound story to bring them all together. And most of the time, there's one central director, and then there's like 3 to 4 or 5 different directors that do their own set pieces, combine it together, and that's anthology. But sometimes you can do it by yourself. You can make the movie by yourself, uh, with different stories. You have to write and create the different 4 different stories, 5 different stories, and put them all together. Well, Mena's got a new idea. He's got a new idea that he's bringing to the party, and that is he is making a series called Fables of the Witching Hour, which we are pretty excited to hear about, and we will be talking to Ben about that as well, his other films as well, which include because he's been very prolific. He's directed 14 films. um, he's also a prolific producer. He's got in there and done 19. He's produced 19 films. But yeah, it's including one film that we're going to talk about is called Hit List. That's another fun film. I found that on a blind buy of all things. Hey Cassie, how are you? Hey Andre, how are you? Let's see. Anthony is holding steady at 706. Glad you're here, Cassie. Are you on Instagram by chance, Cassie? Or are you on Instagram? If you could tell me yes or no, because I would like to talk to you. Hi, Ant. How are you? Um, uh, I'm sorry to hear what happened to New Zealand. Um, I, phew, tough, tough, tough. Patrick, there's our good friend Heroic Waffles has just walked in. I just got done watching his second half of his Screen Factory Valentine's sale. I'm going to go back over it, and I'm going to grade everything that you got, Waffles, and then I'm going to send you a comment about that. I'm excited. Hell yeah, man! Everybody seems to be popping lately as far as getting their sub numbers up. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, no doubt, right, Andre? I mean, everybody's doing really, really well now. Seems like I just saw that Colin in Cleveland just passed 100 subs. I know that Carrie Create Cinema just cracked a 500. So there's a lot of celebrations that are going around. That's awesome. So I'm so happy for you. Um, but you can't quit this time, Michael. You gotta stay in the fight. No more disappearing. No more disappearing. Yes, yes. Just think if you would have just kept your other account, I think you would have probably been up to what a almost I think you would have been close to 1400, right? 1500 people by now. Oh, but you know what? You're doing really, really well. So, hats off to you. Um, so thank you guys for all coming in and coming in early. This is really neat. I've been seeing this lately. It's really fun coming to do the show. Sign on at 7:45, and then look over there and see there's people in the chat already. I can't thank you enough. You guys are this is I really starting to feel like we're starting to get some real traction here, and this is exciting news for us. Um, it's no longer just every show a struggle for views. I see you guys are here early. I see you guys stay late, and I see you guys comment. But let's keep it up. I need thumbs, hit the like button, and after the show's over with, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the show. And that includes asking questions. Maybe I didn't get to your question, or maybe you had a question for our guest after the show. Drop it in the comment section. I will pass on any and all questions to our guest. I will pass those on, and I'll come back and I'll show you the answers. Uh, Thank you, Michael. We are gearing up. Are you ready for this? We are gearing up for we have our last show. We have some shows here to do in February, but we are gearing up for Women in Horror Month next month. March is going to be all Women in Horror Month. So all month long, we're going to be talking to a bunch of fantastic creators who love horror that have done horror movies. This will be my second annual Women in Horror Month, and thrillers too. Thrillers are, to me, honestly, they're kissing cousins to horror. I mean, horror films are great, they are, but they're still they're almost basically they're one and the same, because you're watching horror and you're getting a thrill out of it. It's thrilling. It's like, holy shit, what's going to happen next? That's horror. That's a thriller. Um, oh my gosh, she's gonna fall off the side of the cliff. Will the dashing hero get there in time to save her? That's a thriller. If she falls, that's horror. It's one and the same. I think so. Before I read the calendar off, and I will, I just want to say thank you again to our good friend V. Call me V. Me and the Cheetah we were the guest on her interview show last night, and we had a tremendous amount of fun. It was a really good time. And V is she is gearing up to do interviews, and so I was a guest on her show last night, and this really warmed my heart because I never thought this at all. She says that she told me that she likes listening to the show as a podcast. She listens to it when she has late at night, and she really was inspired to do the show based on what we're doing here. And the funny thing is that's not the first person that told me that this week. A good friend, Matt Fulci, uh, uh, the Fulci Monster, he also started the interview series, and he also told me that Eight Questions with was an inspiration for him. I can't thank you guys enough for that. That's such an honor. Um, I'm really grateful, and I'm glad you guys like what we're doing. We're working really hard at it. We're really working hard, and we're having fun. Uh, we got fantastic guests coming up, lined up for you um, this week, next week. It's gonna be fun, and it's just getting going. And I can't believe we've already done over 245 of these puppies. Um, it's really cool, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. Those who can share us out, please do so. And I also found that out yesterday too. It seems like it seems like we all thought that we could get our community tabs, but it seems like you still got to hit 500 subs in order to get the community tab up in Canada. So that being said, I'm actually going to be running my interview. I'm going to be posting it here. I'm going to be posting it in my tab, my community tab, and also a couple of the interviews here. If you get over there and listen to the interview on V's channel, please consider giving her a sub. She is only like 40 people away from hitting 500 herself, and she will be able to get a community tab. And I think that would be really, really helpful for her, as it is for me or any other of us creators over here. The community tab is amazing. It's an amazing tool. So hopefully you guys will go over there and hook up with Call Me V. Yeah, I don't understand that, Andre. I really don't. It's like, why not let everybody have it? You already did. I mean, how hard could it be? So but to V and to Matt, both of you, thank you. My utmost respect for your kind words. Um, wow, thank you so much. Let's see. Hey, Kellel, how are you? Second best genre. Second best. Well, the first would be supernatural horror. Then probably would be all right. Yeah. Okay. It'd probably be superheroes. Of course, you know I was gonna say superheroes. I gotta say super. I love. What can I say? I haven't seen the new. I have not seen the new Ant-Man haven't seen the new Batman Ant-Man movie yet, and the Wasp. I have not seen it. I know that people were harshing on it, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna say anything about it. I know Peyton Reed is a fine director, and I'm sure the movie is very well made. So I'm not. I have high hopes for it. Plus, not only that, but Kang and the Ant Man. Man, that is just. They should have. I will say this: they probably should have had a different hero meet Kang. I will say that. But that's all I'll say. Um, let's see. Yeah, glad you guys are all here. Let me go ahead and tell you what's coming up on the old calendar, because we are almost done already with February, but we still got some firepower left. Um, oh, anthology, yes, anthologies, yeah, yeah. I love a good anthology. It's a hard thing to do. I respect directors who tackle anthologies so much, because that is a tough nugget to crack, especially when you have different directors doing it. But even if you are solo, even if you are doing your own anthology, it's still a tough nut to crack, because you got to find the stories that fit. Um, and that is easier said than done. All right, so tonight, men will be here momentarily. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on Ash Wednesday. It's funny, it's Ash Wednesday, and our guest, her name is Ashley. Did I plan that out? Maybe. Ashley Undercuffler will be here with us at 8 p.m. The 23rd, we have filmmaker Mitch Lang will be with us. Mitch Lang will be with us on the 23rd at 8 p.m. He's got a new movie that we'll be talking about called The Bog Man, which is a Bigfoot movie. So we'll be talking with him on the 23rd. On the 25th, Saturday, the 25th, this Saturday at 7 p.m., I'll be joined by not only Doomsday Crypt, John Henderson, but I'll also be joined by Brett Wagner, aka The Lost Leatherface, and the lovely and sassy Beatrice Boppa will be here with us at 7 p.m. And then next Tuesday, the 28th, we have Vale will be with us. Cosplayer extraordinaire Vale will be here with us. You won't want to miss that show. And she is actually going to be kicking off our Women in the Horror Month. That's right. We're kicking it off on the 28th with Vale. I can't wait to show her off to you guys. Fantastic artist. All right, Mint is here. It's 8 o'clock. Let's go get them.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about
Uh,
yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Of course, it would be nice if it decided to stay, like a little bit warmer than it has been. Like it was, it looked like it was going to warm up, and now we're supposed to be getting an ice storm coming in here, with up to an inch of ice. So that's not going to be any fun.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. Where are
No.
you in? I know that you're back east, right?
Yeah.
Not really sure exactly where you're at.
I am based in southeastern Michigan.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
I'm about 17 miles north of Ann Arbor.
Okay. That explains why it's so cold there.
Yes. Well, we've actually had a very mellow winter. Actually, we've only, I mean, other than Christmas, where we had sub freezing, it got up to minus 22 here with a wind chill factor, which was no joke. Um, Otherwise, we've had a really quiet winter.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
no,
I don't do well in the cold. I'm more of a warm weather person.
yes,
So, but I did experience some very very cold weather when I was in Bulgaria last year.
I was going to mention that. I was going to say, isn't Bulgaria get pretty damn cold?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm used to, of course, growing up in Southern California, we always have fairly temperate weather. And I moved to Florida for a little short stint, like about 8 years. So I'm
Oh,
used to more like tropical weather. And then recently I moved back to LA. But in between there, I actually got a job working in Bulgaria. And that's basically, freezing cold weather, and
yeah.
it was very very cold. I don't do well in those kind of weather.
I,
Um,
I, Well, yeah, with so the folks in the chat will tell you, like, I actually, during Christmas, or when our weather went for 4 days, it went down, the minus 20s. Um, and my furnace died right before there, like literally like the day before that weather hit. So for 4 days, it was absolutely miserable. I had to
oh,
run water. I had a scare. I thought I was running enough water, and I didn't run it for my bathtub. And the pipe froze, but
oh no.
I caught it just in time. So, it's like when I saw that it was frozen, I'm like, "Oh boy, this is not good." So, but what I did was I turned the water to the hot, and I just left it. And about 45 minutes later, magic. I was like, "Oh, thank God." Um, yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think I'd rather deal with hot weather than cold weather.
Yeah, that's how I am. So when I'm stuck in cold weather, and also, you're talking about winterizing your home, right? To make sure that the pipes don't freeze,
Right.
that kind of thing. I have no idea what that means. I mean, the fact that, how do you keep your pipes from freezing? So what do? You run hot water all the time? Is that how it
No,
works?
no. I mean, if you didn't have a furnace, yes, you would have to run your water all the time. But if
Okay.
you have a furnace and you keep your thermometer, thermostat above 33, which is freezing, you'll be fine. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, it was news to me too when I saw that. I mean, I knew enough to like, okay, it's so cold in here. It was so cold in here that my food in my refrigerator was frozen.
Oh wow.
That's how cold. That's how
That's cold.
the cheetah's bowl of water bowl froze. It's on the
Okay.
kitchen floor. It's on the main floor, and it froze. So
Wow.
it was a very miserable 4 days.
Yeah, that's a little bit too cold for me. I mean, again, when I lived in Bulgaria, it was kind of interesting because I was there for 9 months working on a film, and I arrived, I believe, in February, and the weather was actually starting to thaw out, so it wasn't bad at all, right? And then, of course, we had another winter storm that hit after I was there. So, at first I thought, oh, this isn't too bad. I mean, it was a little wet on the ground. There's a little snow, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But then a couple weeks later, I woke up from my hotel. I walked downstairs, and it was like a blanket of winter, wonderland. And then, then I realized, okay, this is what people are talking about when they, wake up and they can see how beautiful this is. And it was gorgeous. Just the fact that it's so white and all the trees, everything's covered.
Mm-hmm.
But
Winter is
then,
cool. I mean, the snow on the ground is cool. I mean, I moved out here from California. So when I got here, my first Michigan weather, I mean, we had like a big snowstorm, and everybody else was like walking around, and like it was nothing for me. It was like a winter wonderland, and here I am making a snow angel.
yeah. I did the same actually with my friend. We went outside and we made a snow angel. I still have pictures of that.
Oh, that's
But
fun.
yeah, that's fun. But then after about maybe like 2 weeks, then I realized, you know what? I've had enough snow. It's fun for a short bit of time, but to live in it, it gets to be a little bit challenging to to go to work in it, to walk in it, to go out. Every time you go out, you have to get all dressed up. And I'm so used to just throwing on some shorts or a t-shirt and hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah, no, you definitely got to dress. When that weather came in last month, in December, they sent out vans to go to Detroit to take the homeless people off the street because you would die. You
Oh
could
yeah,
you
jeez.
couldn't there's just no, it was no choice. You had to go with them, otherwise you were going to die. There's no way you're going to survive that.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
very
and that is,
that's tough.
that's a perfect segue to go into some serious horror talk too, because I can't think of a more lonely way to die than to be stuck somewhere and be slowly, freeze to death. Um, I,
Yeah, that's not a comforting feeling to be in that situation, especially for a horror film as well. I did see a horror film in the snow back when I was in Bulgaria. Because I was working for a studio, Millennium Media, and they have a studio called New Boyana. That's where they make all the movies, the Expendables. They did London Has Fallen. They
oh,
did,
nice.
yeah, they did, like The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, all these movies. But there was one movie that was called Till Death, I believe, and it had Megan Fox in it. And she plays a woman that apparently woke up in the morning. I don't want to, spoiler alert. I don't want to give this away, but you'll see it. I don't. Have you seen it yet?
No, no.
Okay.
We were just talking about Megan Fox earlier today too. Like, like what horror movies has she done? And I'm thinking, well, that's a really good question. She did Jennifer's Body, of course,
Hmm.
and then she did and then I think she did one called Rogue,
Oh yeah, I saw
and
Rogue. Rogue
yeah,
was more of a secret op, I believe, right? She was special force
yeah,
going through
I
the
think they were
jungle or something
fighting.
like that.
I think she was fighting some creature or something like that in it too. Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Uh,
great. I love it when you have this really hot girl in special force and she's running around in the jungle and she looks great. I mean, she looks like she just went through five hours of makeup.
I can tell you right now, if you really think about it, because there's a lot of that's a really good tiny little subgenre, like the hot ass girl, special ops girl, that comes over and saves the day. Because guys are doing it all the time, but when you see a badass girl come over there and take care of business, it's really fun. And
Yeah.
I think the first time I ever saw that in a movie was Dina Meyer in Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah,
That was
me
one.
too.
That's one of my favorites. Anytime it comes on, or actually, I could, these days you can pull it up, and I always rewatch that movie.
My car is named the Roger Young.
Oh really?
That's that's how much I love the movie. Yeah, but I'm just thinking about that, and like Dina Meyer was, she's such a badass as Dizzy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
she was great. I mean, I liked her so much better as a badass. Let's see, yeah, I mean, she's like probably one of the first action. I don't know. I'm sure there's others before that, but I really love that movie because she plays such a badass, and also she's chasing after, her guy, and of course the guy keeps shining her. So it's kind of a
yeah.
funny. It's kind of a funny plot line.
That's a fun movie. I mean, do you get inspired by watching movies like that? Do you like because there I guess there's two ways of watching a movie. There's watching a movie as a fan, and there as yourself. You watch it as a director. Do you ever just sit down sometimes and have a notepad or laptop and when you watch a movie through the eyes of a director and make notes about what would you have done differently in a certain movie?
Yep. Unfortunately, I do that too much.
Yeah, I,
Yeah,
I
every time. Yeah,
oh
every
that's
time. Every time when I watch a movie, unfortunately, I'm always thinking outside of the box of what a normal person would normally watch it at, and I would normally think of different ways I would have shot this movie or different things I would have done differently to really improve it. And yeah, unfortunately, it kind of ruins the movie, especially for people that watch it with me, because I have a tendency to, like critique it quite a bit, and they're like, "Just shut up and watch the movie, would you?
no,
Just enjoy it."
honestly, I would love to actually sit there and watch someone like you work that way because it would be cool. It would be interesting. You would learn a lot because I know sometimes they have special features on movies and they'll show a director going back there, to the special effects. They'll walk over and do the special effects, or they'll go over there and cover the sound, or they'll go over and cover something else. They're always going to the various departments, checking in on what's working and what's not working. And they sit there and they watch the same piece of film over and over and over while they're making all the adjustments. I think that's fascinating. I don't think it's
Yeah,
tedious.
yeah, it's a lot of tedious watching things, but then each time you watch, well, at least for me, if I shot something, I'm always looking for like very nitpicky things, of course, because after seeing it 100 times, you're gonna find different things that you want to change, or and I'm always like trying to be a perfectionist, but it's at some point you have to realize it's not going to be that way. No movie is ever perfect, right? So you got to walk away at a certain point. But yeah, I do have a tendency to watch certain movies and over critique things, and talk about inspirational projects too. I mean, how I got into writing Clown Fear was I went to this screening at Raleigh Studio, and had no idea what the movie was about, but it was a movie about a clown and this woman who has this fear for clowns. So I'm expecting like a horror film, right? And as I'm watching this thing throughout the movie, um, and one of my friends was with me, so we're both into horror, and I kept like basically nudging her, and she kept nudging me back, like, "What the hell? This is a horror clown movie. First of all, there's no killings. The whole time, this woman is afraid of clowns, so she keeps thinking that she sees clowns, wherever she goes. That's fine. You can be scared of clowns if they're right, let's say 5 feet or 10 feet from you. I mean, there's times when she'll see a clown down the street, like a 2 or 3 blocks away, and she'll see like little, I mean, minute pieces or pictures of, or pieces of clown, and she'll be terrified. So the whole time, this whole movie basically builds up suspense, which is great, but then there's no payoff. And
Oh,
so at the end of the movie, I mean, nobody even gets killed. No, I mean, there's nothing really interesting except for her running the whole time from these clowns that she thinks that's there.
what's this
And
movie called?
I don't want to give the name away.
Oh,
uh, but
I was
so
just saying there'd be you might be doing us a public service by doing that, so we can all avoid not to get that movie. I think
right.
because you don't want to get that movie, sit there and watch it, and go like, you know what,
This
I
is the movie Min was talking
I
about.
love this movie. Why didn't men warn us?
True, very true. But so anyways, at the end of the movie, I was so disappointed, and I ended up having to. Actually, I ended up meeting the director, because afterwards, the director's walking around asking people what they thought, and a lot of times it's very uncomfortable if you don't want to be honest and say, hey, what the hell? Well, this is a horror film. What are we doing here? So, so at the end of the whole, night, it inspired me to say, hey, you know what? I can write a better clown movie than this thing. And so that's what inspired me to, go out and write Clown Fear.
That's a fun movie.
Oh, thank you.
That's a really fun movie, and you have such a talented cast in that movie. You had, of course, you had Courtney,
Yeah.
um, and then you had Augie,
Yeah. Had a
and
really good cast. I mean, Tiffany,
and, and you had
Tiffany
Sadie.
Brookfast, yep, Sadie, Marv, he was great in it. And how he got the lead role was a fluke. Because he was only supposed to play a little part at the end, playing the doctor that delivers, the baby.
Okay,
And what happened was that we had another actor that was supposed to play, the main lead. And that day, it just happened there was some kind of situation where, you know, there was some kind of complaint about that actor. I don't want to go into it, but
of course.
so I ended up having to, fire the actor and say, we can't have this on my set. And of course, just happened that Marv hung around because he loved the film and he wanted to stick around and watch the filming and stuff. And I ended up saying, "Hey Marv, get ready. I'm going to put you in, and you're going to play the lead." And it worked out really nice because although we had him play the doctor at the end, it actually worked out where when he played the lead, and at the end he ended up being the doctor that delivered the baby.
Let me ask you this question because I touched on this with another. Oh, we got a question. We got a comment saying, "Save us, spoil the ending for the save us from that bad clown movie." Uh, that's funny.
That is funny.
Uh,
Well,
uh,
let me put it this way: when you start watching a movie about a woman that is afraid of clowns, and there's a shower scene where at least the shower scene, if you're waiting all this time, at least have some kind of gratuitous, nudity, right? It
yeah,
just
for a
cuts.
horror
It just
film.
cuts. Yeah, in a horror film, it just cuts to her like getting in the shower, and that's it. So if you see that, then it's the one I'm talking about.
Let me ask you this because I touched upon this with another director because I was really curious. I really had never really asked this, but of course, this is an unpleasant part of the business. But how do you fire an actor? Isn't
Oh boy.
is this something you a director does, or do you go to a producer, executive producer, or a studio, or how do you handle something like that?
Yeah, usually, I mean, you try not to fire anybody on the set unless it's something that's really blatantly bad. And and then at that point you just gotta, just basically bite the bullet and just go to them. And I think as a director, you got to take the responsibility, and this had actually something that that person did that was really uncalled for. And so I normally don't, I'll give everybody all the chances in the world to be on my set. And a lot of times, this stuff doesn't happen, but when certain things happen, then you just got to do it. And I think there was a good cause, a good justification for it. Otherwise, I would never do that. So
It's a real shame when that happens. I don't really
yeah.
hear about it too much, once in a great blue moon, but I've always wondered like how does that happen? Do you take them, do you take them aside, or do you let the executive producer do it since he's responsible for paying for everything, getting the money or whatnot? I mean, how is it a team effort? Where's
Yeah. Well,
the
I
contract
did.
come into play?
Yeah. I mean, I did talk to the producer as well, and we both came to the same conclusion. And I guess I could have let the producer, go ahead and do that job. But I was also the producer on this movie as well.
Mm.
And I thought since I've worked with the actor, and I've been kind of basically we did a couple things together prior to me firing him on that show.
Ooh,
So I thought it's probably good because we did shoot some stuff with him, and unfortunately, and fortunately too is that it worked out where the stuff that we did shoot with him worked out where we was able to still use it. So
oh,
yeah, it all worked out, and I think there's a reason for certain things to happen sometimes. And sometimes these accidents are a good thing because then the movie actually I think became a better movie.
sure, and probably raises morale too of the set, because nobody wants, you know, like I know I mentioned this before, like I know when I think about sets, I think of Bill Lawrence, when he was doing Scrubs, and they interviewed some of the crew, and the crew was basically saying you can do anything you want, but just don't be an asshole. If you're an asshole, you're not going to be long for the show.
Right.
And they actually did end up firing a prop master from the show, and they commented on it in the behind the scenes. And yeah, the guy was trying to, he would have had and hit props before he left, but he says no, you can do anything you want to do, but just don't be an asshole. I mean, I think that'd be a really basic 101 part about filmmaking is you want to be there, you're happy to be there, and let's have fun.
Yeah.
It's just sort of sad to hear, especially with talent involved, that things like that happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think everyone that I've worked with in the past, and I've done a lot of projects. Everyone, I mean, we work in the field where, I mean, the work is, I mean, it's pretty heavy. We're there for 12 hours, sometimes 13, 14 hours, and we're there because we love it. There's a saying in the film industry. People always complain, "Oh, I got to work today." And then, when we're on a project or we're on a set, we're always like, "Hey, we get to work today." you know?
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly. It's a really good way of putting it, right? That is It's not like, oh, here we go. It's like,
right.
I can't believe we're getting paid to do this. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. I mean, I would do it for free. I
yeah.
hate to say it.
No, a lot of people would. A lot of people. I mean, a lot of people would. I mean, think of all the people who do background and extras and whatnot. They go out there a lot of times, especially on independent films. They go out there and they spend like 4 or 5 hours, and they're not getting paid for it. They're just doing it for the love of being on a set, so they can sit there and say, "Yeah, I worked on this film."
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
don't have to go into details. You just sit
Mhm,
there and say, I worked on that film. You see it on the store, you see it at the
mhm.
store, you see it on TV, and you go like, yeah, I was in that movie. I
Yeah,
worked on that one.
and people are proud when they're in a movie and they're featured in their background because hey, they're like, hey, you can see me in this movie, and it's a part of history, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I think for me, people that love to work on projects is the ones I usually like to bring back and continue to work with. I mean, our team now in LA, I've been working with some of these people for probably like 15 to 18 years. And every time I have a project, they're so excited to come on board because the big thing about making film, I mean, the money is money. Money, you get some good projects and some decent projects, and some are not so good. But the thing is that it's like working with your friends and creating something really special, right? And that's what we want. And yeah, so it's great. My team right now, I'm really excited to be back on working with them again, and we're looking at doing some more projects. The one that we just finished is the anthology. It's called Fables for the Witching Hour, which I'm excited about. We're done with it, and we're going to be launching it very soon.
Now, how did you do that? Did you write and direct that whole movie, or did you do the wraparound, or
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
So
is it 100% you, or
no.
did you bring in four directors to do four stories?
Yeah. I did not do the whole thing myself. I basically directed the wraparound, and we went out and cast for the wraparound segment. And there was a lot of people that actually submitted for this project. I was very surprised, but we found this girl. She's amazing. Her name's Madison Willow, and so she's the lead. And then the girl that's in my Clown Fear, um, she came in from Vegas, and her name is Lauren Kakowski, and so she's also a co-lead in the movie. And that's what I did was I basically did the wraparound, and then we have 5 other directors that directed all the other segments. I mean, there's let me see, I can name them. Adelia Mars, she did one of the segment. Ahi Black is another director. Michael Robert Kessler, Francis Hahn, and Fernando Tassetti, and myself. So it's really a neat project, I think, because have you seen Black Mirror?
I saw what it was called, The Outer Limits. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Then and did you like that?
When they weren't lifting Outer Limits stories out, yeah, I did. I thought it was pretty fun. But they lifted some of the Outer Limits stories. But yeah,
Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I don't know if ever got released over here on physical media.
I
But I'm
don't
a
think.
huge anthology fan because that's what the Outer Limits is. It's the anthology
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
That's
Me
like
too. I love it too. I think anthologies are great.
me too.
It's like especially for these days with the people's attention span being shorter now. I
God.
think you can turn on an anthology, watch like 10 or 15 minutes. Once that one's done, jump off, do something else, and come back.
Now
Right?
that honestly
Um,
isn't that a really a sad statement on our society though? Think about it.
it is.
I'm gonna have to make a 15-minute movie because I can't trust the audience to sit there to watch it for 90 minutes. Oh,
Yeah,
that's just sad. That's just sad.
it
And
is.
yet a lot of it seems like a lot of the movies now these days coming from Hollywood, now they're coming out, they're 2.5 hours, 3 hours long. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so it's almost like we're gonna force you to pay attention. You're not gonna be sitting there for looking at your phone and tapping your feet and thinking to get out at 85 minutes. Now
Yeah.
we're gonna keep you there for 3 hours. Yeah,
Well,
I love
Avatar.
anthologies.
Avatar just came out, right? How long is that movie?
I think it was 3 hours and 10 minutes long.
Right. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go and see it before it leaves the theater, but I just wanted to wait until everything cools off. I don't like to go when it's crazy busy and everyone is waiting
Yeah.
in line, and I'd rather have like the peaceful moment of just relaxing and checking out the movie.
You know what? You're right. I mean, the days of just going over there, walking up to the counter, putting down your $5 or $6 for a matinee show, walk in there, get yourself a popcorn, no rush, no hurry, no muss, then go over there, find a seat, relax, and watch a movie. It's all gone. Now you got to go there. Now you have to. There's people doing food. There's drinks there, so I don't have to worry about people getting a little bit sloshed. And then you have to pick out your seat to watch the movie. Hopefully you're there early enough that you can pick your seat out. But more often than not, you might not because a lot of times people go into the movie. Sometimes it's like an impulse. It's like, hey, let's go to the show, and then you up and go. But now you have to buy your seat. Now, and if you're AMC, now you're paying for where you sit at. If you sit in a premium seat, it's going to cost you more to sit there. But
Crazy.
if you sit in the screen and you're stretching your neck out like this watching the movie, it'll cost you a little less. They made going to the theater so damn unpleasant. And I think
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Avatar is doing really really well, but a lot of the movies aren't doing very well because people don't really want to go. They um, it seems like screens are starting to shut down again.
Yeah.
Is that a concern for filmmakers? Is that something you guys talk about among yourselves? Like obviously the hope is to make a movie and hopefully get it on the big screen. Um,
Yeah.
that's
I believe I believe that, of course, it's always concerns if the screen's going back down. I think there's been a change in how the theaters have wanting to get movies and sell their movies in their in their theater. I think the fact that you can go and buy food, get service, have the waitress come and get you your drinks and your food, and you can actually recline on those seats. I think that's their way of trying to make the money because they don't make as much money if they sell the tickets, where all the concession stuff is what they're trying to do. So yeah, it's definitely has changed quite a bit for me. I think I love the fact that I can lounge, but look, if I'm laying down and I've had a full meal and I'm drinking a beer or wine, I'll pass out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm dying. I'm dying to know. In fact, this is something I'm going to ask the chat here, because we got a few heads watching us here. Let me ask you guys: have you guys have been to the theater, since the post pandemic? Have you guys been to a theater and seen people sleep? Have you heard people start to snore in the theater and within the last year or so when you go? That's a really good question because I mean it's like, and if they do, I mean, who's gonna go over there and tell the guy, listen, dude, you're snoring, you know?
Right. No, I can answer that too. I mean, I've been to those theaters and so many people fall asleep and they snore, and especially if you're watching a 3-hour movie where there's a lot of CGI, because I
Mhm.
think CGI makes me very tired when I'm watching it because there's so much coming at you that the sensory perception of all these things that it's overload, and I'm definitely going to get tired. And on a full stomach with a lot of sugar, you know, you're gonna drop.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
I yeah, so I get it. And the other thing that I don't like, which I try not to go to, is that as a pure filmmaker, I love it when you shoot a movie and you want it to have that crisp, beautiful scenery, of people, dialogue, and when you make it into a 3D situation, you're basically blurring everything except for the what you're seeing is the center focus, and it bugs me because I hate that. I'm wearing these glasses, which I don't like. I don't wear glasses anyways, but then I'm seeing blurry things all around. So yeah, 3D stuff until they perfect it, I'm not a big fan.
No, no. I think people are just I think people are happy, honestly. I think the majority of the people are, yeah, they go out for the big events. And it's funny, it's like I was reading about this how, they're talking about how the screens were shutting down,
Mhm.
theaters are closing and whatnot. And they're sitting there going like, Hollywood, part of the problem is the lack of content. And I just wanted to just like scream and going like, that's because you, the writers, have encouraged that. When you're sitting there and you're writing 100% about a movie like Avatar or Maverick, and filling up the screens, and you don't give any love to the independent films. You got independent films that you can slide onto the screen there, but nobody will show up. Well, you know why they won't show up? Because you don't ever show it enough. If you took Fable or The Witching Hour and you slotted it in, maybe on your smaller screen, but you slotted that in, and the next week you got a movie like Clown Fear, you slotted that in. Believe it or not, people will actually get onto that when they come in there and they say, I'm not really feeling that big movie, but what's that little one about? What's the little independent one about? And people will go and watch if you
Yeah,
give them that option. But a lot,
right.
and that's the other thing too, is that they don't give us the option. I
Well,
want to
that's
go see
exactly.
independent, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think if they gave us more options for that, then more people will definitely go and see them. I think the studio. I mean, not the studio, but the big studios. What they do is they book these theaters way in advance, and so there's a drop date, of course, as you know, of when these movies are being released. So, as independent filmmakers, in order for us to even get a slot, it's almost impossible because there's so many of these big studio films that are waiting in line to drop in. Yeah, like even like working. I mean, with Clown Fear, Lionsgate picked it up, and they basically for them to release just on all the platforms and DVDs without theatrical, there's still slots that they need to fill in, and it takes like probably I think for them I think it was like 6 months in advance. They can't just go, hey, here's a movie. Even with Lionsgate, they can't say, hey, I'm gonna drop this in next month because we just picked it up. They have that already in mind of what they want to do and how long in advance or how far in advance that they need to know before they can, take that slot.
I think Lionsgate, it's really interesting you mention them, man, because I always felt that Lionsgate had really treated the independent filmmaker probably the best of anybody. I mean, they pick up movies,
Hmm.
they package them, they put them on the shelves. Lionsgate, for when they first started out, they had a really good run with theatrical releases. But somewhere down the line, they realized, like, you know what, we could make the direct to home, direct to video market, and we could own it. And they do. They did.
Yeah.
I go inside my old video store and I see all these new films coming out, and it's like, of course, Bruce Willis would be on just about every single one of them. But I would get every week or every month I go there, there'd be just a ton of new Lionsgate movies direct to video, and it was exciting because you look on it and see some faces, be an action plot, it could be a horror plot, it was a really fun way to discover a lot of new talent.
Yeah. I agree. I think Lionsgate is one of those companies that, like you said, they paid attention, and with Clown Fear, they did a great job in the sense that when they finally released the movie, it was pretty much in all the was it Walmart, Target, and it was on the top shelf. I was getting pictures from people across the states sending me a picture. Hey, here's your movie, and they would take a picture of where it was at, and it was on on the top shelf of these stores, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool that they were able to do that.
Well, I think Clown Horror speaks to a lot of people. That was a really effective cover too.
Yeah,
Clown Fair. It's like, yeah, it was sort of predated art. Art had that same sort of look, but I
yeah,
think Clown Fair was out. They had the cover out with a little bit more. It had that similar style up front. I was actually thinking about that when I saw art, and I'm going like, I've seen that cover before. Where have I seen it before? And then I go like, oh, of course, I saw it on Clown Fear. Um,
right.
um, Let me catch up on the chat here because we have some comments about the theater experience. Our good friend Echo says he's been to the theater a few times. Nobody was snoring because everybody was being rude.
Okay, that's the other part.
Yeah. See, Rob says yes about sleeping, and sometimes it's me. It's sleeping. If it's late and I've hit the devil's lettuce, it could happen.
That's funny.
Yeah. Let's see. He says he also likes to sneak a few beers in. I did for the second Halloween movie, and the Nun. So who doesn't sneak in snacks? That's an
Yeah.
art form. That's an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the snacks are so expensive, you might as well sneak in like a candy bar or something. I mean, it's not a big deal, right?
No, no. I used to go. What I used to do, be a little cold, right? So I had a big ass jacket. So what I would do is I just go to Taco Bell before, and then I come there and I put the burritos in my pocket, and I walk in, and maybe I'll buy a Coke, but I still have my burritos in my pocket, and
Yeah.
and so I would sit there eating the theater.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Let's see. Sean mentions he knows that Lionsgate has finally turned down the ear-shattering music for their logo before the movie begins. Yeah, that was always a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They fixed it after 20 years. Let's see. See. So now Sean is watching us our interview, and he's gonna have a beer to celebrate. So
I want a beer. I'm drinking advertisement for Starbucks, so
yeah, I'm doing that too. I'm drinking coffee too. Yeah,
yeah.
I got a huge ass cup of iced coffee here. I'm so happy. I'm a happy camper. Uh, how did you get your start into the films, man? How did you did it come early for you? Was it something you got into in college?
I wish I would have actually gotten into the film industry a lot younger, but it's never too late. What I did was I went to college. I went to UCLA, and I wanted to get into photography. Or actually, I used to paint quite a bit when I was younger, so I wanted to get into some kind of arts. And of course, my dad, especially, he believed in college, but he didn't want me to go to college in the arts. And so, what happened was that he said, "Look, I'm happy to support you and pay for your tuition to go to college, but if you're going to take any kind of art classes, then I'm not going to be supporting you." So I said, "All right, so what do I need to do?" And he said, "Well, take something that's professional, either become," because he was an accountant, so he said, take something in business or something in let's say medical or something in as become a lawyer or whatever, that there's a career behind it. So I decided to go into the medical field, and so I went to UCLA. I worked and got my Bachelor of Science in Health Science in Radiology Technology.
Okay.
And then I was going to go back and get my doctorate. And of course, while I was after I graduated, I got I landed this really cushy job at UCLA where I was working with the trauma department, but I would get to sleep at night. And just to date, myself, back when they used to have pagers, and I would have a pager and I would be in scrubs so I can sleep in one of the rooms. And anytime when there's a trauma patient, they would call me and say, "Hey, man, we got a trauma patient we want to bring over to you." And I'm like, "Okay, just let me know when you're coming over." So a lot of times I would sleep pretty much. I mean, on an 8-hour shift, I would sleep like 7.5 hours, and
Wow.
nothing would go on. So I had a lot of free time every day when I got off my job. And of course,
no one noticed that was happening. No.
well,
Wow,
I mean, I
you're
ran
right.
I ran my own department, so they and they allowed you to sleep as long as there's nothing going on, and as
Okay.
long as I did my job. They just need someone in house on call, basically.
Okay.
And so having so much free time, I used to go to the beach and play a lot of beach volleyball. And from there, I met a lot of people in the film industry playing beach volleyball. There's a lot of actors and models that wanted to stay in shape, and so they would play volleyball during the day. Then they would work as a waiter at night, and then if there's any auditions, they can run off and do that during the day. So it was a perfect job for them. And so once I learned about the film industry, uh, I met some casting directors that asked me, "Hey, do you want to try some background work, or do you want to try doing some work in the industry?" And I thought, yeah, you know what, I have some free time, why not? So I stepped on a commercial set, actually. That was my first set ever been on. And I was doing background work on it. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, it's like, when you first step into Disneyland, it's like, or a kid in the candy store, right?
Right.
All these people running around, they're all doing all these crazy things. And at the end of the day, they're all making, I mean, basically 30 seconds of video, for a commercial world. But that was fascinating to me. So I realized that, hey, at this point in my life, whether I'm going to stay and work in the medical field, which I did enjoy, or I can just jump ship and wanted, to get into the film industry. So I did that. I decided to jump ship, and it was tough for my parents to take, of course, because for them,
Yeah,
it
but you
was
got
like,
your degree. But you got your degree. I mean,
right,
if you needed the fallback, you had that in your back pocket.
exactly. And that was the reason why they were okay with it. But still, they were disappointed in the fact that, here I am, I had a good career going, and then wanted to jump ship. And they didn't know what was going to happen because, of course, the film industry is very,
Fluid.
yeah, it's really very tough. You never know one project from another. So anyways, yeah, so that's what happened was that I got in after college, and I really loved it and haven't looked back since. So here I am, still working in the industry.
A lot of people, like you said, you did your background work for your first project. Did you ever see yourself behind the camera? Was that always the goal, or did you initially have thoughts about being in front of the camera?
No, I never wanted to be in front of the camera. I just went on just because I thought, okay, let's check this out and see what it was all about. But I definitely knew I wanted to be behind the camera. And then also, there's so many different jobs, but once I learned all the jobs, and I did some production assistance work as well. I worked on, a lot of shows back then. I did some Baywatch stuff back then. I did Pacific Blues. I did Space Above and Beyond. Did you remember that
Oh
sci-fi
yeah,
show?
remember that on
Yeah.
Fox. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great show because it was very sci-fi, Marines in space battling,
Didn't they have
aliens.
Linda Linda Hunt was in it.
Yeah, I believe so.
I believe so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That really
So
that was an expensive show, but it was fun.
yeah, it was a great show. I thought because I think it was um, before its time because it had so many CGI and also it looked great. I mean, they did an amazing job. Every episode back then was over $1 million, and that was unheard of for a show. So anyways, yeah, so that's how I learned the craft, is, being on set, basically learning everything, the nuts and bolts. And then eventually I directed my own short film called Gratuity, and that was in 2004, I believe. And after that, from Gratuity, I went on to Hit List. I got
Let's talk
I got
about
the
that.
budget to get. Yeah, I
Let's
got
talk
the
about
budget.
that because I was actually I saw that when you posted on your Instagram. You posted a picture saying Hit List 2, and I'm going like, hell yeah, because I actually bought that. I bought that movie blind. It was a blind buy.
Oh, really?
Yes, I knew Joey Lawrence,
Hmm.
but I bought it blind. I had no idea anything about that movie or anything. I bought it from my video store. They had a sale. I picked it up. Uh, they had bought the movie. They got in the movie, but I bought their used copy. I got it for $1.
Okay,
And then
nice.
I went, yes, I went and I watched it. Man, I was entertained as hell. That was a
Good.
really fun movie.
Yeah, that was my first feature,
Wow,
and
came out slugging.
well, I tried. I was very, pleased with that movie, because we had a really good handful of B actors, let's say, right?
Yeah,
John Salvage was, I mean, he had a huge career prior to that, and then he was kind of like older now, and so he played the father. Joey Lawrence was making his transition from a child actor to an adult, and so he was kind of, bridging that gap. Shirley Brenner was an actress back then, when she had so many movies that year, that I was casting for that lead female part. And what happened was that I was looking at her resume. I'm just going, man, this girl is on fire. So we had a really good interview, and I cast her as the lead, Charlotte. And Andrea Evans, of course, from soap operas over the years, and she's great. And she and I are still great friends, and we're trying to do other projects together. Actually, we produced Rockin' the Couch together, the documentary.
I actually have had asked her like 2 or 3 different times to interview. Man,
Uh-huh.
she shot my ass out of the saddle every time.
What? I
There
can't
was a,
believe
there was
that
I,
she's.
there was someone in between us. There was someone saying, "Hey, I can get you so and so." Okay, that'd be
Uh,
awesome. Says, well, do you know who Andrea Evans is? So, hell yeah, I know Andrea. Who doesn't know
yeah.
who Andrea Evans is? Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
All right, let me go ask her. And next thing you know, it's like, yeah. She says like, she said this is what she said. She said, who is he? I was like,
Mm.
damn. It's just like I'm nobody, but I mean, it's like, who is he?
Nah, you're not nobody.
I was just like,
All right, let me
okay.
talk to her. We're gonna get her on the show. I
I
think
got
she
scars
she
I got scars to prove it. She shot my ass out 3 times. It's like
no, that's not good. All right, she's great. I mean, she and I will come on your show together.
she
How's
is
that?
fun. I watched her when she was on the soap opera.
Yeah,
She
she
played
was huge.
yes, she
She
was
played
huge.
Tina, right?
Huh?
Yeah, she played Tina. Didn't she play
Tina
Tina?
Lord. She played
Yeah,
Tina
Tina.
Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
She was the hottest thing on soaps for there. She had a run. She really did.
Yeah,
I wish she had left it a little sooner, because I
yeah,
think because soap operas, and luckily we don't have that stigma anymore for soap opera stars, because they had the stigma like if you did
yeah,
soaps you couldn't do anything else, and that's really unfair. I mean,
yeah.
um, I know that Deidre Hall worked really hard to try to break that, and I don't think she really ever did. In I mean, she
Yeah,
tried really hard. I
I
mean,
agree with you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
geez.
back in the day, that was like the kiss of death. I mean,
Mhm.
even the big stars, they don't cross over very well. Today, it doesn't matter.
No, today they do much better. Today they just go over there and head on over to Hallmark or GAC, and they got work. And
Right.
and then we find out that they're very good actors.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good
No,
actors.
there's some really great actors that came from the soap world.
Yeah,
You know.
agreed.
So
Agreed.
yeah. No, I.
I'm just letting the chat know too that I'm just letting you know. See how it is. See how it is. See, it's not always easy grabbing the grade A talent. Sometimes your ass gets shot out of the saddle.
Well, I mean, I mean, an amazing woman, and I'll get her on the show with the three of us will be on the show one day. How's that?
Yeah, so, yeah,
Because
that's fun.
she's in Hit List.
Yes, yes.
You
Yeah,
know. So
I know she was
yeah,
in. I know. I mean, the cast is just amazing because he had Joey Lawrence, and he really, you're right. He was coming off that Child Star, and people saw him as Joey, and it's just like, wow, you need to like not do that because he's got some
yeah,
pops. And you're right that I had never seen Shirley before, and she was darling. She was
yeah,
absolutely darling. You really got I think a lot of directors, I think they don't always have, it's like they don't always have the luxury of having a good solid cast like you did for their first feature. A lot of it's, inexperienced or just not enough
yeah.
not enough experience, for the whole cast or whatnot, or budget constraints or whatnot. But this movie was a lot of fun, and I
Yeah.
really do hope that you can come back and make another one because
You
I
know,
think there's a market for it.
I would love to do the sequel. We're talking about that, but yeah, it also had Chris Owen from American Pie, the Shermanator.
Oh, Sherman, that's right. That's right. You got the Shermanator.
Oh, and
Oh,
Booger. Remember Curtis Armstrong?
yes.
Booger.
Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at the list here, and it's just like, man,
Yeah.
you had Jimmy O'Hara on here.
Oh yeah, General O'Hara. That's
Yeah,
right.
I
Oh,
mean,
and Eve Brent.
yes,
You know who she is?
I do. I do.
Yeah, she's the
Uh,
first Jane, from Black and White films. She was the very first Jane, Tarzan. Tarzan and Jane.
right, right.
And yeah, see, she passed away now. I think I'm trying to think how many years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But man, she was great, and she was a feisty woman. I mean, she came on set, knew her lines, delivered. Just amazing. Still had everything going, and yeah, it was super super great to work with
Were
her.
you nervous? I mean, how did you get the job? I mean, was it something you developed, or was this
Uh,
something that someone hired you to? How did you get the first job for this one? Because that's a
yeah,
that's a
I,
lot of that's a lot of weight for your first movie.
yeah, I can tell you how I got this movie off the ground. Actually, what
Okay.
happened was that I finished my movie, or my short film, Gratuity, and it came out really nice. I should send you a copy of that. I still have it, or I send you a link and check it out. And then what
Sure.
happened was I ended up wanting to raise money for a feature film because everybody wants to go from a short to a feature. And I was able to find a couple investors that were interested, and they saw my short film and liked it a lot, and said, "Okay, well, what are you looking for?" And so I was able to raise money through my short film to get the feature film made. And then what we did was that we found this casting director, Carrie Curto, actually is her name, and she was just starting out and was really, I mean, very very ambitious. She was willing to go after anybody, to play in the movie. So I just said to her, get whoever we can. And she just went out and just like put it out to all the agents and managers. And we got a lot of great submissions. And that's how, I mean, I was even talking to, let me see, Dean Cain from, what is it from, he was Superman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
and, and David Charvet, remember him from Baywatch?
Yeah.
And then, of course, Joey Lawrence. So I picked Joey because I thought Joey had, I believed in Joey, and he really loved the script. They contacted, actually, his manager read the script and really loved it. And so his manager contacted our casting director and said, "Hey, Joey's interested." I had a meeting with him. I mean, great guy. I mean, super down to earth, very, very nice person. And I can tell, we hit it off. I think we could have done many more movies. Actually, we're still good friends. But yeah, so that's how it worked out. Is that as one after another, these names kept coming in. So we just, hey, let's cast. We kept casting them. It was great,
Right.
and ended up having this amazing cast to work with. And it was kind of crazy because I think for me, although it was my first feature, I did do a lot of projects prior to that. In other words, I directed a couple TV pilots, short
Sure.
films, a bunch of other stuff that that I never took off. But I had some pretty decent experience by then. And I guess we really don't know what we're going to do until we're faced with this kind of situation, and then either it's trial by fire, right? Either you sink or swim if you get thrown into the deep end. And I guess I just swam. I just did what I could.
You swam really well. That's
Oh, thank you.
as far as debut films go, I would highly recommend Hit List. I would take that and put that out there. Like this is as a first time director, first feature director. This is what you want to do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
very
you.
well done.
I actually my experience in Bulgaria, it was kind of interesting because working for the studio, I had like basically some really amazing locations. I had some amazing equipment. We shot with like the Alexa with with amazing lenses. We shot with like cranes. We shot with dollies. We shot with all these amazing toys I was given. And the one drawback from shooting in Bulgaria, because it's actually in Eastern Europe, and getting cast was tough because it's a beach volleyball movie. And so what I wanted to do was to get actually real players, so the movie would look real, as realistic as possible. And so basically what I'm getting at is that my actors from Hit List, I had a lot of pretty much seasoned actors. In qualifying in Bulgaria, I had basically 90% or 95% of the actors are first-time actors. Even my, all my leads, and so.
What did you prefer? Did you prefer having an experienced cast? But see, that was your first one. By the time you got to Bulgaria and you casted the new one, you
Yeah.
already had a wealth of experience underneath your belt.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine that being your first film?
Oh man,
95%, like, what am I doing again? What's my motivation? Imagine doing that,
Yeah.
I think by the time that rolled around, you had already, your skill level was already so high that it's like, yeah, what, 95% don't know what this is the first film? Not a problem.
No, it's exactly what happened. Was that knowing that I knew what to do, even though people didn't know how to deliver lines, you can always shoot around people and make them look like they are, pros, right? And I've done that for many actors in the past, where for some reason that day they just couldn't deliver. They had a rough night or rough morning, whatever it is. In the final product, they always come up to thank me. And I had several times where they're like, "Hey, man, thanks a lot. You made me look really good. I know I really screwed up that day." And
Right.
so knowing that, I was very confident in the fact that I can actually make the whole movie look amazing without having to sweat it too much. And so, yeah, I think, experience really does help a lot. And if that would have been my first movie, probably not. And I think, for me, I always feel you're given certain projects at certain time because you're ready for it. Right.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No, I think
So,
that's a good analogy. I mean, what was the how did Bulgaria happen for you? I mean, you already had because you've already had a nice resume.
mhm.
You already directed over a dozen films, projects, and then how did you end up getting to Bulgaria? Was it just
Yeah,
something?
it was an interesting, I guess, time because it was during the COVID lockdown. And it was after Clown Fear, of course. We had the premiere for Clown Fear in February 2019, actually February 2020. And then, of course, the lockdown was March, right? A month after the premiere of Clown Fear. So I sat around for about a year. And then I was talking to the CEO of the company in Bulgaria because, he was running the studio there. And was pretty bored, and I said, I like to do something. And he said, well, come on over, and we'll get you to, start writing some scripts or start developing some projects. And I said, okay, sure, that sounds great. And then, of course, a couple of weeks later, I was on a plane. heading over there. And I wasn't expecting to stay there that long. I was expecting like, okay, I'll be there for a couple of months, shoot a movie, and then get the hell out of there because I didn't know much about Bulgaria. And 9 months later, I was still there, and we were wrapping up a movie. So, and then also I got a chance to.
I think when people see Eastern Europe, I think they think of like primitive, but they have some very nice studios back there in Europe, don't they?
Yeah, it's very I guess modernized because an American company owns it, and they have basically everything that the big studios here have. They have the backlot, New York Street. They have London Street. They have Rome. They have the Middle East as well. So all these back lots are, I mean, it's a huge studio. And then they also have a water tank where you can actually shoot underwater stuff. Let's say, a car goes off a bridge.
Right.
And you get the underwater shot where the let's say the bus or the truck goes into the water. You can actually be down there with some scuba divers and shoot the underneath shot where it hits the water. It's pretty cool. It's about a 3 or 4 story pool that goes all the way down.
And, you ever had to direct a stunt that actually made you really nervous to do it? I mean, where you were like, even though you're handle professionals or whatnot, have you ever been like really nervous about shooting it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had one for Clown Fear that it never got completed because what happened was, so the stunt goes like this, or the plan is that the scene where I wrote is that the woman, there's a policeman that drives up, and there's a car that's parked on the side of the road, and under the car is a woman, fixing her car, right? Like trying to figure out what's wrong. And so all he sees is when he drives up is this woman with her head down in the trunk and trying to get the engine fixed. And of course, she's got this really super hot body wearing, tight shorts, jean shorts. So that's the that's the setup for the scene.
Was that
and of course, what's that?
Was that Sadie?
No. This is like it's supposed to be at the end of the movie, and it's supposed to be like the setup is basically the cop sees her and wants to help her because this hot girl, but he doesn't see her face. So he walks up, and of course, when he goes up to her and says, "Hey, miss, can I help you?" She comes out, pops out, and there's a woman in a clown face, and really scary. So he basically is taken aback from it and jumps back. And as he does, there's a car that comes by and hits the cop. And what happens, the stunt is that he gets hit, rolls on the roof, rolls over the roof, and then lands in the back. And then, of course, you see this last moment of him getting run over, and just basically in pain.
Right.
And so the day that we're supposed to shoot this stunt, and we had the actress that was coming, and we had the cop that was supposed to play the policeman, and my stunt coordinator did all the work, and we already had this all planned out and everything. Well, of course, it rained that day. So, and I was kind of nervous because, it wasn't like one of those days where it rained and poured. It was like one of those wet days where it just rained enough to where it could be a problem when we did the stunt. And I was already kind of concerned about the stunt because, the guy's going to get hit. He rolls over the top of the roof, and falls through the back. And then you get a shot of him, on the ground. Right.
Right.
And so we never got to do that stunt because we eventually called off the stunt because it was too much of a risk. And I was kind of glad about that. Although I really love to have that shot in Clown Fear because that would have added a lot of production value and kind of super cool too to see, something like that done.
So did anybody want the shot? Did the producers walk up to, because
oh yeah, well, I think it was written in the script that way. And I think, when we gave the script to Lionsgate, they read the script and liked it. So we're thinking, okay, what if they say, hey, we need that stunt shot in the movie and stuff. But they never, once we delivered the movie, they never came back and said, oh yeah, we are missing that stunt shot. So, right. We all wanted to do it. I wanted to do it too, but with the risk involved, and especially with being wet, it's not. Yeah, why risk it? And even the actress that was playing that role and the actor, they both wanted to do it. And of course, they weren't the one that were going to be the one getting hit by the car. It's the stunt guy.
Yeah, it's easy. It's
you
easy
know,
for the
right?
account to sit there and say, "Yeah, let's get that. Let's
Yeah,
do it."
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
double.
Right. Exactly. And you know what? The stunt guy even said, "Look, I can do it." And but
Oh, tell me,
at
have you
that point,
ever heard a stuntman ever tell you that they can't
right?
do it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Until it's too late, right?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never heard of a stunt person sitting there going like, "Yeah, I can't do that one."
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll at least try it. They'll at least
Right.
try.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Mm.
no, I was kind of disappointed in a way because I think I would have loved to have that shot in the movie. But
Well,
looking
you can
back
always
at
put it
it,
in your
yeah,
back pocket. You can always put it in your back pocket, and
yeah,
then when the right time comes, you can recreate that scene
clown fear too.
yeah, Clown Fear 2, after
Yeah,
Hit List 2.
after hit list too, right?
Uh, so let's talk a little bit more. I want to talk a little bit more about Fables because
Yeah, yeah, we got to do
Fables,
that.
yeah, because Fables is it's not going to be just one movie. You're planning to do three of them.
Yeah,
So
yes.
how now how does now do you have a deal in place to deliver three films? And will you be going back to Bulgaria for the other two once the
No,
first one
no.
gets released?
I think the Fable trilogy is going to be all done here and with different directors. And each time it's going to be different directors, different stories, of course. And and then I'm going to do the wraparound, and the wraparound continues throughout the thread throughout the
Right.
three anthologies. So that part is kind of exciting. And then the girl that's in it, I want to also put her in my next movie, which is going to be a Native American kind of folklore type of a horror film. It's called Skin Crawler. So
Okay.
that's the idea.
I
But the
noticed that
Fables,
you have the John Ford you have the John Ford toolbox. I noticed. You mentioned how you have your same crew working in the same talent. Uh,
yeah.
how comfortable is it knowing that? And do producers or studios do they get a little concerned when you recast the same people in your films? Do they come up to you and say, like we noticed that you've had this girl in the last four movies of yours, and the guy's been in five out of your last six. Do they ever come up to you and tell you it's okay to get a fresh face in there, or do they trust you, or do they trust you enough to know your business?
Yeah, it depends, which studio. I think certain studios will probably be more interested in getting a fresh face or bigger names. But I think, as long as you have control, and which I really like that part in Fables, is I have a lot of control. And if I can do that and continue to keep the same face and continue to build her career, or the actors are different, actors in that, I guess in the trilogy, then that's what I want to do. Of course, we all love to work with the same people because we know what they can do. We know that they listen. We know, it's one of those things where the worst nightmare is to have an actor that kind of goes off the rails and becomes a diva, right? And then it's hard to work with them.
Yeah, have you had to deal with that? Like, have somebody maybe have some, maybe when you first cast them, their star was, they were just, a happy working actor, uh,
Hmm.
but maybe during the time they sign up to do a film with you, by the time they get on set, like, like look at Jenna Ortega. I mean, that's a really fascinating case study. With the Screen Five, we had Nev Campbell, right? So she
Right.
comes in there, she does that movie. Everybody knows that the Screen franchise is built around Sydney Prescott. She went and asked for some more money for Screen Six. They said no, and I think she went on to do a pilot. And but during the time that she did that, lo and behold, Jenna Ortega just exploded
Yeah.
between with X and then Wednesday. Um,
Hmm.
Next thing you know, it's like here you are when you cast her in Screen Five, she was she was a name, but she wasn't quite where she is now.
Right.
Can you? And I was looking at myself, going like, well, these people thought they were that Neve Campbell is asking for a lot of money. Wait till they get a load of Jenna Ortega when next time. Um,
Right.
so
I mean, it's a good thing to have. Let's say, that your actor that you cast blows up, and it's going to help your film that much more. But
Mhm.
I think working working with someone that's very difficult is probably a nightmare, because we all have our time frame that we got to shoot. We have certain hours we got to try to get it into the can. And of course, with difficulties, it's going to slow you down. And I'm always very good at getting my shots because I know what I want. And I think most of my shoot dates are usually around 12 hours or less. I don't usually shoot 14 or 16 hours that a lot of some of these horror films
I
people have
don't get
told
that.
me.
I don't get that. I don't get the rush part of it. Like, sometimes I'll hear someone say, "Well, how long did it take you to film your movie?" "I filmed it in 8 days," and I'm like, "And do you not think that you don't think that's not gonna show up on screen that you did that?
Yeah,
You're gonna get you think about that. You're shooting in 8 days, even if you have just one central location, like a giant house or whatever, or a warehouse.
yeah,
Still eight, those kind of hours, you're gonna see it in the acting. You are.
yeah.
You're gonna see. You're just not gonna be able to cover that up. You can cover up a lot of mistakes, but you can't cover up an exhausted actor. You
Yeah, and
know.
also I think if you're shooting something for 8 hours, I mean for 8 days, a lot of time what happened is that you're going to have some problems
Mm,
with getting the shots that you really want, because if you don't have the right amount of time to actually create the scenes that can cut together, and you rush because you don't have the time to actually shoot it properly, then in post you're going to have a lot of problems in jumping from one scene to another, because the bridges aren't going to be there because you only had 8 days to shoot, where you actually need, let's say, 20,
right.
because you're missing a lot of these key elements. So yeah,
As a
it's very tough.
as a director, do you get to call that shot? I mean, can you call that shot? Like, if they say, "Well, yeah, we're gonna budget you enough for an 8 day shoot." Do you, as a director, do you have the authority to sit there and say, "No, I want a 12-day shoot because I want time to do it right. I don't want to do slam bam, thank you, ma'am. I want to do it correctly, and
Yeah,
I want to get some really good shots, and I want some wiggle room. Like, if I do need to do a couple of pickups, I want that room too."
right.
Um, or is it all controlled by the studio or the executive producer about how many days you to shoot?
Well, yeah, it depends. Couple things that it depends on. One is that if you're a producer and you can actually work on the schedule, with your other producers, then that's when you have a lot of control in saying, hey, I can't shoot this thing in 12 days. I need 18 days, right? And then you kind of work as a team to make that happen. So that's the best case scenario. But if you're working with a studio where they're just like, okay, you got this amount of days, you got to get it done, or as you're shooting and you're told, okay, I have 30 days to shoot, and they come in, let's say day 18, and say, hey, we're going to cut all this, and so you basically have, instead of 30 days, you have 22 days or 25 days, right? Then you got to figure out, okay, what key elements or key days do I really need, that I really to make this story work, and put that ahead of your schedule, and make that happen. And also you need to do some rewrites to bridge those gaps too, because if you're cutting stuff and you don't get a chance to go and shoot those, then how the hell is how is it gonna make sense in some of the scenes to make it work? So yeah, and a lot of times these things are always planned out in different sequences. So you got to look ahead and say, okay, look, I already shot this scene. I can't really cut this part. So how do I bridge the scene later that comes before this scene to make that work? Yeah. So it's a puzzle, and I think having the proper days is very important. And also, to answer your question, it's hard sometimes when you don't have those controls, and you don't always get that. They always say, your first movie, hitless. I mean, you always have the most control with your first film, which I did, because I was one that helped raise the money. I had a very good producer that let me do as much as I can under the amount of days, and he gave me a lot of days.
Real quick. I mean, real quick. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. So I was just thinking for that. Now are you going to be are you producing Fable as well as directing the wraparound? This is your baby. So
yeah.
Yes. Are you executive producing this? So and how did you find the directors for the 4 stories? Did you put how does that work for an anthology film? Do you look at scripts, or do you put out like this is I'm looking for stories that are how did you find your 4 stories or your 5 stories and 5 directors?
Okay, so how I found this was, well, I have a film festival in Hollywood, Florida, right?
I didn't know that till recently. I didn't know that. That's
really,
that's
it's
good.
the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival, and it's we're going on our 8th year. So what I do is every year we have so many films that are submitted to us, and I meet a lot of the filmmakers too when they come to my film festival. So, for instance, one of the filmmaker had this horror film which he hasn't been released yet. He showed it to me because he wanted me to check it out, and so I checked it out, and it's like this really cool horror film. And so I said to him, I'm interested in putting together an anthology. I think your film would be perfect. So that's how I found that film. And then there's a couple other ones during the festival that I really like, because we do have we do pick all different genres, and horror is one of them too. So I gather some of the other ones from different ones that have won or have done really well, and so that's how I was able to get these horror shorts. And then from there, I write the wraparound. And then also what I try to do is the horror films that I pick, I always try to get them in the same vein, like has some kind of techie, horror about it, or has, there's something that ties them together. And this one, like I said, it's like a Black Mirror because it's got that kind of techie kind of feel that I really liked. And of course, when I write the wraparound, it kind of ties it all together. And that's how I was able to get this one. And then, again, I'm going to, for the next one, I have a couple other filmmakers that are really interested in send me, the script that they think that I would be interested in, and then I can pick them, and then they would make the short films, and then I can, put them all together.
Do they have say? Do you trust them to cast their own stories, or do you handle casting yourself?
No. I let them cast everything. I trust them because I let them have the free range. I don't want to be micromanaging these things. I just want to make sure that they're, if it's not good, let's say we have a deal and the film comes out and it's not what I want. I can always say, look, it's not 100% guarantee that it's going to go into the anthology. I just tell them, look, shoot it. I like the script. Get it to me, and then of course, they have to shoot in certain, like cameras, platforms. We deliver in ProRes 422. So high res 4K kind of feel.
I mean, the worst that could happen to a director working on an anthology film, the worst thing that could happen to them is their film doesn't get picked, but they get a short film out of it.
Yeah, they get a short film, and then
they get something out of it. There's not just a waste of their time or their crew, their cast and crew.
Right.
There is a bright side to it.
Yeah, and then also they can also take that film to festivals. So there's a life to that film. It's just that it won't have a life in an anthology, and within an anthology, it's a nice combination of films that people love to watch. And I think anthologies are becoming more and more popular, and I think Fable is going to be one of those that people are going to be surprised how good it is.
When an anthology is done right, it's really good. Like VHS, man, I love VHS. VHS is the shit. The first one, it's the best. I mean, I know they keep making them after that, but that one there is really really cool. I just love that. There's another one called Holidays. It was pretty good, but I think it was a little too heavy. They're trying to get too much because I think the average, and tell me what you think, but I think for an anthology, because it's the hardest film to make. I think it's the hardest
Hmm.
film to make because you got basically you got 5 or 6 directors, and you got to cobble their vision together to make it seamless. And especially the director of the wraparound has the hardest job of all because their responsibility is to connect those stories together.
Right.
And I think anthologies, I mean, when they're done right, it's magic. But boy, oh boy, when they're not, oh, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for you to see anthology, Fables for the Witching Hour. I think you're going to really enjoy it. What I can do is once it comes out, I'll send you a link and you can check it out. And
I
then
can't,
I would love to have you talk to the leads in my movie. That's I think we're talking about them coming on board
yes.
for Women in Horror next month.
Yes, yes. We'll have
Yeah.
we'll have both your leads on. We'll work on getting them booked next couple of days for sure. I'd love to talk to both of them.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. That
my
I
friend
think you.
John is here. Doomsday Crypt is here. John Henderson. I'll introduce you to him, and he also does a show that he could probably come in to help out and do some interviews too.
Okay.
John's a skilled op. He has one show he does with Brett Wagner, who was known as the Lost Leatherface.
Okay.
He's actually a very
Nice.
very natural interviewer. So I'll hook you two guys up too after this show's over with. Yeah, yeah. We'll we'll,
Love
we'll
it.
get your we'll get your ladies, and we'll get this movie promoted for
Yeah,
sure.
I think well, I definitely want them to continue the career, but Madison, she's a sweetheart, and you'll enjoy talking to her. So also Lauren, you'll love talking to her as well. Um, the Madison, I think she can be a great scream queen as her
Mm,
career blossoms. So
good.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have them on your show.
Um, yeah, we'll try to have John get to interview Andrea so he can get his ass shot out of the saddle.
I'll work on that for you for sure.
It's actually one of my fun stories. I don't I was not I was sitting there going like when he said that, he says when he said that, it's like once in a while you'll get like I think I can do this for you, and it's like it's awesome. And then but inside of me I'm going like "Man, she's a huge star. There's no way in hell she's gonna do because my channel was really tiny. I was just getting started. And I'm going like there's just no way in hell she's gonna do this for me. And she's a star. She's like like she was like big, and it's just like you know even now I still respect what she did. I mean, you can't help but Andrea. It's like Andrea Evans. Like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Um,
Right.
but I'm yeah. I'm excited. I love the fact that you're not only going to do just the one, but you're going to do 2 other ones as well. That's so much fun to me. You got them all lined up and everything in place. Now, when this movie comes out, do you have a distributor for this movie yet, or is this something you're still working on?
Something I'm still working on, but I'm planning on releasing them actually through Amazon as well, and also through what's the other platform which I want to. I'm gonna see if I can get it onto Netflix if possible. I mean, there's a lot of platforms I'm looking to target, so we'll
Right.
see what happens.
Yeah. Is it easy to reach? Is it easy to reach Netflix now and Amazon? I mean, it used to be, back in the day, it was pretty easy to. But is it
Yeah.
much harder? Is it harder now for independent filmmakers to reach out and contact both of them because they're so damn big now?
Well, Amazon is not hard. I think the Netflix is challenging,
Mm,
but you have to have some kind of inside connection, and I
right.
do have one. So we'll see what happens. Again, I'm trying this new way of distribution as well, and I'm excited. My producer and I have some plans and seeing what happens. And it's a people that I've been working with for years too. That I'm looking forward to trying some new things with them.
Well, I'm personally I'm hoping that if you do go either one of them, I'm hoping you'll go at least with Amazon because Amazon will at least let you make physical copies, whereas Netflix, there won't be any physical release. And
Right. Right.
it seems like to me that's like you lose half your fan base right there when you
Yeah.
don't, because I know a lot of movie fans that, if once you tell them that they can't get the movie on physical release, they're not going to watch it at all.
Really.
Yeah, I'm like that.
Okay.
If there's nothing I can't, if I can't go out there like that's a badass movie, I want to go get it. If I
Right.
can't do that, why am I watching it?
True.
I
Okay.
I want to own a copy of that. I
Yeah.
want the option of that.
Yeah.
And
The horror fan base really love hard copies. I
yes,
know, for Clown Fear, it was pretty much. I mean, I think it was sold out pretty quickly because everybody loved to get physical copies of it and have something tangible, right? And it's
right.
nice. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think if that's the case, I mean, I would definitely go Amazon and have hard copies and be able to get it out. And also, we want to be able to go to conventions and have some signings. I mean, we have some amazing posters and that was created for the movie. It's up on IMDb now. We're gonna have a red carpet premiere, so we'll get some nice promo pictures for that kind of for the launch.
Oh, I am looking at the clock. Our time is just about up.
Okay.
This has actually been the fastest interview I think I've ever done.
I can't believe
Seriously,
I can't believe it's been an hour, over an hour and a
I
half, right?
can't believe it either. It's just gone so fast.
Jeez.
This is just like the fastest one I've ever done. It's crazy.
Well, we
I
had a lot. We
really
had a lot
enjoyed
to
it.
talk about. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
it was
do.
like, yeah, it was so much. So it was fun. Always fun talking to you. So I promise I'll get Andrea on with me.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If she wants to come on, I'll bring you back on in May. I'll have you come back out in May and hang out with me. And
Okay.
yeah, that'll be
Love that.
cool. And then we'll go ahead and get Madison and
Lauren.
Lauren.
Lauren. Yeah,
And
Lauren.
yeah, we'll get them booked as well,
Okay.
and talk about. I can't wait because, like I said, I mean, I've seen your track record. I can tell you right now. I can tell everybody, Hit List is absolutely amazing debut movie. It's a great movie. It's fun. It's funny. It's sexy. Um, yeah,
Thank you.
you definitely got skills. And Clown Fear
Oh,
also is very very good. Uh, Tremendous cast in that too. Like I said, we mentioned that some of the cast. Sadie Castle's in it, and Augie Duke was in it, and Courtney Akbar is in it, and she had
yep.
a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
She had a
still talking
baby.
to them?
I haven't really. I've been so busy. I haven't really stayed in touch, really. And then also, I think her husband went off, and he's busy too with other projects. So I haven't really stayed in touch. But they're basically a phone call away.
Yeah, is it hard to maintain personal relationships in your job? I mean, hear that all the time. People, like I mentioned this before in interviews, but I want to hear your thoughts about it as our last
It
question.
is. Yeah, it is very
Is it,
hard. It
it
is
is
very
hard.
hard, I have to say, because I mean, I just reconnected with Shirley Brenner from Hitless, and
Oh,
because we've been friends. I remember after we shot the movie, and then we were very close. I would go to her house, and we'd have dinner and hang out. I would hang out with her family and stuff. And then I got busy, and then she got busy, and then of course we haven't talked or hung out in like probably 8 or 9 years because you lose time. Time flies. It's crazy because I
yeah.
remember her kids, Mila and Juju. She was pregnant with Juju after Hit List, and then Mila was only, I think she was on like 5 or 6 or something like that. And then now, they both of her kids have this huge career. Juju was in Hocus Pocus too. I'm very proud of. She's an amazing woman. That she takes care of her kids and really she's like was it one of those movie moms where she gets them to all the auditions and they've done really well. And so we just started talking recently because we want to reconnect because we haven't seen each other in so long. And so I'm going to go over to her place shortly, maybe this coming next couple of weeks or whatever, and we'll reconnect. But yeah, my point is that, you know, we do our projects and then we move on and then we get very busy. And then, you know, and then once you look back, it's like, oh my God, it's already been 9 or 10 years later. Right. And so it's hard. It's weird. It's like we have intentions to stay in touch with people. But then, of course, you know, time flies. And you know, when you get into a movie or you get into any project, it takes a year sometimes. And a year goes by just like that. And you don't realize that. So, yeah. It's tough. It's tough to stay in touch unless you're, you know, unless you really are close and you call each other all the time. But then after a while, if you're not working together, you know, you lose it.
Right. I want to thank you for hanging out with us, man. I want to thank our chat for coming out here and hanging out with us as well. John mentions that, I'm interviewing John, and he's actually bringing Brett and Beatrice Popple from Nightmare on Elm Street. They're going to be coming out and hanging out with us next Saturday night at 7 p.m. Tomorrow night, we have Ashley Undercuffler will be here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And then Thursday at 8, we have Mitch Lang will be here with us. He's a filmmaker from Louisiana. He's got a brand new film called The Bogman. We'll be talking about. And then next Tuesday, we have cosplayer extraordinaire Vale will be with us. She should be a star. She's something else. She's amazing. She'll be here with us a week from tonight, and she will also be leading off our Women in Horror Month, and we can't wait to get into that.
Oh, amazing! It sounds like you have a full schedule and a lot of great people coming on board.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm you know, it's exciting to do. It's hard to do. Booking Women in Horror Month is a hard thing to do. It's the hardest month I book every year, but it's also a lot of it's also the funnest one too. Man, thank you again so much. Stay right where you're at. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat. Thank you guys for coming out. We will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And thanks for showing up, and watch the replay. Thanks again. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.